even if our city manager is on the phone. All right, it is 5:02 p.m. by my clock, and it is the regular meeting of the governing body for February 23, 2022 at 5:03. Calling the meeting to order, and in the order of business, we have a pledge of allegiance to be led by Councillor Michael Garcia, salute to the New Mexico flag from Councillor Rivera, an invocation, and then remembrances. We'll start with the invocation from Councillor Cassett, and please do rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the symbol of perfect friendship amongst united cultures.
Good evening, everyone. As you all know, it is Black History Month, and so I have chosen a poem from one of my favorite Black poets that I also really love the meaning behind this poem because it talks about the unity that we all share, even through our differences. So this is Human Family by Maya Angelou. I note the obvious differences in the human family. Some of us are serious, some thrive on comedy. Some declare their lives are lived as true profundity, and others claim they really live the real reality. The variety of our skin tones can confuse, bemuse, delight, brown and pink and beige and purple, tan and blue and white. I've sailed upon the 7 seas and stopped in every land. I've seen the wonders of the world, not yet one common man. I know 10,000 women called Jane and Mary Jane, but I've not seen any two who really were the same. Mirror twins are different, although their features jibe, and lovers think quite different thoughts while lying side by side. We love and lose in China, we weep on England's moors, and laugh and moan in Guinea, and thrive on Spanish shores. We seek success in Finland, are born and die in Maine. In minor ways we differ, in major we're the same. I note the obvious differences between each sort and type, but we are more alike, my friends, than we are unalike. We are more alike, my friends, than we are unalike. Thank you, and I'll pass that over to you, Mr. Mayor, for remembrances.
Thank you for a lovely poem. If there is someone you wish to remember, please just raise your hand. Councillor Rivera, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to take a moment to recognize and remember Miss Isabel Montoya, who graced the Fiesta Council for more than 38 years, and she recently passed away. She'll be long remembered for the intricate and elaborate clothing and costumes that she constructed over the years for the Quadrilla, the Don Diego de Vargas and staff. So may she rest in peace, and I wish all well for her family.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other? Yeah, Councilwoman Villarreal.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to recognize the passing of my cousin, Bobby Nieta, and just thinking about him and how much he loved making jokes and talking politics, and was so excited when I first ran for office and was very helpful, and just thinking about him tonight and sending my family prayers and love. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Let's bow our heads, take a minute to think of those just mentioned and others who are dealing with loss or sickness or the need for recovery. Keep them in our hearts. Take a minute to think of those people. Thanks, everybody. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Mayor Weber,
Present.
Councillor Cassett,
Here.
Councillor Chavez,
Here.
Councillor Lee Garcia,
Here.
Counselor Michael Garcia,
Present.
Counselor Lindell,
Here.
Counselor Rivera,
Here.
Counselor Romero Worth,
Here.
Councilwoman Villarreal.
Present.
You have a quorum, Mayor.
Thank you. If I could get a motion to approve the agenda, unless there are things that need to be taken off of it that I'm not aware of, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve from Counselor Lindell and a second from Counselor Cassett. Could the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Cassett,
Yes.
Counselor Chavez,
Yes.
Counselor Lee Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Michael Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Lindell,
Yes.
Counselor Rivera,
Yes.
Counselor Romero Worth,
Yes.
Councilwoman Villarreal,
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Yes,
Motion has been approved.
thank you. On the consent calendar, I know there are several items that have been flagged to be taken off. If I could see a show of hands individually of who wants to be recognized to take something off. Counselor, yes. Yes. Holy moly, there are hands everywhere. Counselor Chavez, you have the floor.
Yes, I'd like to pull agenda item D
Diaz
from the
and
consent
David.
agenda. D as in David, yes, sir.
Okay. Counselor Garcia, you have the floor.
Lee or myself?
I'm sorry, Michael. I apologize. Yes, Counselor Garcia, Michael.
No worries. I didn't want to step on Lee's cowboy boots. I'm good. 9B and 9N. So B is in boy, N is in Noel.
Okay. B as in boy, N as Noel. And Councilwoman Villarreal, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd also like to pull off N as Noel,
Okay,
my uncle's name.
fair enough. And we have a hand from Councilor Romero Worth.
Item H, Mayor. As in hat.
Oh, we're all, okay. Very good. Duly noted. With those amendments, can we get a motion to approve the consent calendar as amended?
So moved.
Second.
There was a motion from Councilor Romero Worth to approve the consent calendar as amended. I heard Councilor Lindell. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll on the motion?
Counselor Chavez,
Yes.
Counselor Lee Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Michael Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Lindell,
Yes.
Counselor Rivera,
Yes.
Counselor Romero Worth,
Yes.
Councilwoman Villarreal,
Yes.
Counselor Cassett,
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Yes,
Consent agenda has been approved as amended.
thank you. I'm going to turn over item 8A for you to read out loud so people who are listening or watching but don't have the agenda in front of them will know what the next presentation is, please.
Sure. Item 8A is the fiscal year 21 audit status update. John Blair, our city manager, and Mary McCoy, the finance director, will be providing this update.
Mr. Blair, you have the floor.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, councilors. I am frankly going to pass this off to Director McCoy and let her, Director McCoy and her team present.
Director McCoy, you have the floor.
Thank you. I'm going to take this opportunity to share my screen with the members and the public. Today, we have an update as of today for the progress that we've made on our FY21 audit. We are happy to announce that we have made significant progress in the last few weeks, and I'll be sharing that update with you today. Progress on our fund balance and net position. As we've reported in prior weeks, we have completed both of these accounts in totality. The same goes for all of the accounts for our inner funds. And today we're happy to announce that we are just shy of 100% complete with our capital assets accounts. This is significant work that our team has accomplished over the course of the last few months. As we've been updating you, this has included data mining for all capital asset expenses as well that were incurred in FY21, completing testing of a sample set to total approximately 38 million, and then calculation of depreciation expense and accumulated depreciation. So the outstanding percent on this one is to have a final review and sign off on all of these accounts before we consider this complete. That being said, moving on to assets, we have also made significant progress with our assets reconciliations. We are on track to finish this by next week. We have reviewed in the last 7 days some of our smaller receivable accounts, as well as continued reconciliations for our two major cash accounts, the 100, 700 and 100, 900. And we're going to continue that work into the coming in this week as well. Next week will then be into final review and clearing the notes that we have on some of the accounts that we have completed to date. As far as our deferred inflows and outflows, we are considering this 50% complete and are on target to complete this by this week as well. These are some major accounts, including net pension, OPEB liability, and all of our associated deferred inflows and outflow accounts. That being said, we have also completed significant amount of work on all of our liability accounts. We're at 47% complete, and we expect to continue our work on this week. We have completed our compensated absences and accounts payable, and those are ready for and under final review this week. So those will be undergoing quality control review and complete, as well as completing the final reconciliations for those accounts. Major progress has also been made with all of the work associated with our federal awards. We're now at 60% complete, and we are on track to complete this by the middle of March. We will be under general ledger review for our transactions, as well as meeting with department staff to verify and test those transactions. So we continue this into the coming weeks as well. Just a quick review of where we stand. As of today, we are continuing the reconciliations as I've reported, and any correcting journal entries that may pop up. We are also on target to produce the CFA by the middle of March, and we have confirmed with our external auditor, Clifton Larson Allen, that they will be able to have folks on site to start testing the CFA at the end of March. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I will stand for any questions.
Thank you for the report. Questions for Director McCoy about the progress on the audit? Okay. I appreciate the presentation. You're continuing to do this for every finance committee, if I understand correctly. So this will be an ongoing presentation. It's very good to see those 100% at the beginning. Those are done and those boxes get checked. So congratulations on those. And we look forward to the next presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, everybody. Madam Clerk, can you take us to the next item, please?
Yes, the next item is item B. It was pulled by Councilor Garcia. It's request for approval of the amended and restated lease agreement between the City of Santa Fe and the Boys and Girls Club. Terry Lease, our asset development manager, is available for this item.
Okay, thank you. I think what I'm still trying to learn our new procedures. I think it would be appropriate to entertain a motion and then turn it over to Councilor Garcia to raise questions.
Move to approve.
Second.
I heard a motion to approve from Councilor Romero-Worth. I heard Councilor Rivera second. So there is a motion on the table for us to address, and questions can be proceeded with this now. Councillor Michael Garcia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just got a couple questions about the lease with the Boys and Girls Club. I know that's a great organization that's been having a positive impact in our community for decades. I can still fondly remember being dropped off as a youngster at the club when I think I was probably 6 years old with my He-Man lunchbox, not knowing what was in front of me, and the impact that the mentorship and the friendships and the camaraderie that I had over the next 5-6 years going to the club was definitely had a deep impact on my life. So I just want to thank the Boys and Girls Club for everything that they've done for our community and our youth. But I do have, like I said, I got a couple questions in regards to the lease before I'm comfortable moving forward with at least giving my approval on it. So I want to turn to page 3 of the lease, and in particular, item C1. And this is the provisions of services to offset monetary rent. And I think this is in line 3, where it says the services described in section 4A above. Well, 4A talks about base rent. It doesn't go into services. So I don't know if that's a typo and if it's somewhere else we describe that, but it's definitely not in 4A. So if Terry can help point me in the direction where we kind of outline the services being provided to the city and county that would potentially help to offset the rent costs.
Mr. Lease.
Mayor Weber, Councilor Garcia, thank you. Yes, I'm pulling up the lease now. I apologize. I should have had it up. Still waiting for it to come up.
While they wait for that, Mayor, I think I can start to answer that while Terry looks something up. And again, because of the teen center, Councilor Garcia, I've been working on this. The Boys and Girls Club had lease of the entire property. And once the teen center came on board, I didn't want Boys and Girls Club to be in charge of the property that the teen center resided on. So we've been working for over a year to try to separate it out. But to answer your question, and this is just some of the few that I know about, but they go to schools every day and pick up kids and take them back to the Boys and Girls Clubs. That's a service for our city kids that helps to defer some of the rent. Some of the other things is the summer program. They provide some of the staffing to assist with the summer program and really taking care of our kids where the parents aren't able to stay home with the kids. So they take them to one of the schools, and between the city and the Boys and Girls Club, we provide those services to them. So that's just a couple. There are many more that they provide throughout the year. But those are the two that come to my mind. And I don't know if Mr. Lease is ready now.
Yeah, it finally came up, sir.
Thank you.
Maybe Mayor Weber, Councilor Garcia, I apologize. So that was, I am on page 3, section 4. And you had a question in reference to what specifically in section C?
Yes, in C1. So it talks about the services being provided, and I completely agree with Councilor Rivera about the services that they provide. I guess it's when we have contracts, we want to lay out everything black and white. And I think it refers to saying services being provided as mentioned in 4A. And in 4A, there's not any of the services that, for example, that Councilor Rivera went off in regards to transportation, summer staffing programming. I mean, I know that there's more of a gamut of services that they provided, because as I mentioned, I was a recipient of those services. And I think it was more so, is that maybe a typo where we list somewhere else all the services that they provide? Because I want to make sure that we list out we put those parameters of the services that they are going to provide that will help offset.
Yes, Councilor Garcia, thank you. Yes, that A should not have been there, A above, because actually the provisions for the offset is down in that section C, down below in 6, 7, and 8. So I apologize for that.
So let's see, you said, where is that located? The services that they'll provide?
Yeah, so the services that are provided is not specific. What it talks about the rent shortfalls, and the services they provide will come in the annual value service statement. Well, those will be explained in detail.
Okay, and again, where is it talk about value? Because it says 4A, and I don't see a value service statement. So I guess I'm just trying to make everything line up, because if we were to go back and say, you said you're going to provide X, Y, and Z services as outlined, but it's not outlined. And I just want to make sure we make the corrections now to the lease. That way we can get everything lined up. That way we can get off to the club for their signature.
Okay. So in Councilor Garcia, thank you. Yes, in that section C and V1-6, item 6, it talks about rent shortfalls. Again, it doesn't say the specific services. If you do go down to use of premises, it'll address some of the services, but not specifically. So that would be in 5A, intended use.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilor Rivera.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. And I know that the services that the Boys and Girls Club provide changes from year to year. And I just saw Sarah Getler on, who's probably the best person to answer this. She knows what they do at the Boys and Girls Club on a daily, yearly, monthly basis. So if it's okay, maybe she can help answer that question.
Well, I'm not, I guess that my question is, are we're looking for an enumeration of the services to be specifically identified in the document? Is that what we're trying to establish here? Or is it that there is a place where they're accurately mentioned? I'm a little bit at sea on what we're trying to establish. Councilor Garcia, what would answer your question at this point, I guess, would help to know.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So I guess I'll defer to our city attorney, because as I mentioned in item C1, it talks about the services that would be provided to offset costs. And if again, this is a contract, and we want to make sure that if there are any challenges, we can go back to say, well, X, Y, and Z services were going to be provided to offset. You did A, B, and C, so that does not qualify for offset. And I think this is where we just need to make it crystal clear in the contract what is going to be eligible for offsetting costs as we enter into this agreement. So I think that the question should be deferred to the city attorney, given it is in the contract, and how would we remedy this?
Great, thank you. Aaron, do you have a read on how to cure this?
For Councilor Garcia, I do have a suggestion, but I'd want to consult with Terry really quick. So maybe we could table this item and I could give him a call. Because I was not Andrea Salza reviewed this one. So I just want to make sure that I don't make a suggestion that's inconsistent with what the intention is. So let me check with Terry. Maybe we could table this item till later in the meeting.
Sure. Motion to table until later in the meeting.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, let's call the roll on the motion. Madam Clerk, are you with us?
I am sorry, Mayor. We had a packet emergency. I didn't hear, Mayor, I apologize.
We have a motion to table till later in the meeting while the city attorney makes a phone call or two to clarify the drafting of the contract.
Okay, perfect. All right. All right, Councilor Garcia, Michael Garcia.
Yes.
Councilor Lindell,
Yes.
Councilor Rivera,
No.
Councilor Romero Worth.
No, and I explain my vote.
Okay. Councilwoman Villarreal.
Yes.
Councilor Cassett.
Yes.
Councilor Chavez.
No.
Councilor Lee Garcia.
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Yes.
Motion has been approved.
Thank you. Councillor Romero Worth, you asked to explain your vote.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to make another comment before we went off of this so that it could have been considered in that communication between the city attorney and Terry Lease. So I'm sorry I didn't raise my hand fast enough, but as I know, this is a non-debatable motion. So when you have a motion to table, I can't interject. So there we go.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, so we'll come back to that after a little more background work gets done off budget or off, in a sidebar conversation. Let's go to the next item, Madam Clerk.
All right, the next item is item D. It was pulled by Councilor Chavez. It's a request for approval of the allocation for the 2022 Affordable Housing Trust Fund and the attached contracts awarded in response. The RFA for Santa Fe Civic Housing Authority's Paseo del Sol Apartments project. It's in the amount of $500,000. Alexandra Latter, Director of Office of Affordable Housing, I believe is on for this item. Ms. Ladd.
Thank you. Can I get a motion and then we'll go to Councillor Chavez?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Councillor Chavez, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Director Ladd, first of all, I'm just always excited to see anything on for affordable housing. And I pulled this item, even though all of the others also interested me and I wanted to have you expand on them because I think it's a big deal. Continuing tenancy for tenants and making moves to make sure that we keep tenants housed is really exciting. And I wanted to give you an opportunity just to expand and offer more information to us today.
Director Ladd.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Councilor Chavez. This is an exciting project. We had many tax credit projects built when the program first came online about 25 to 30 years ago. And they were all designed so that the subsidy was provided on the condition that affordability was maintained and renters were income certified for a certain amount of time. And at the end of that affordability period, which in the early years of the program was 20 to 25, sometimes 30 years, but usually closer to 20, the owner of the property, who was a private owner, not a government or not a public housing authority, had the option to take more subsidy and continue the affordability period or convert to market rate. And over the last few years, we've had several of these projects convert to market rate. I think the most visible one might be the Bluffs in Tierra Contenta. And what that meant was that those income certified renters who had, many of them, been living in those homes for a long time were not able to continue living there. So Paseo del Sol is also in Tierra Contenta. Our housing authority, the Civic Housing Authority, purchased the property with the intention of keeping it an affordable property. So the restriction is that it will serve those renters at 60% of area median income and below. The authority applied for funds from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund to help offset some of the costs of making some improvements to the units. The property was pretty well maintained, but over 25 years, heaters go out, windows need to be replaced, new roofs, all that kind of stuff. So what this does, and I have to say, our housing authority is very entrepreneurial, has a very large portfolio. But part of the motivation for purchasing the property was that they were having a hard time finding units. So they would provide a rental subsidy to a renter who had been on their waiting list for years. And this poor renter would have 90 days to find a unit and wouldn't be able to find a unit. So part of it was to control the inventory. Many cities and governments and public entities are taking this approach to affordable housing, which is to control inventory. We don't really have that capacity at the city, but our housing authority does. So it was important, the Community Development Commission felt like it was very important to make this commitment and support this effort. So as a result, these units, we're offsetting through these funds, we will offset the costs of that preservation of those units, both preserving them as affordable units, but also physically preserving them and rehabbing them.
Thank you. And that, those units are really special to me because I have families that I've served in my school that utilize that housing. And stability, housing stability just is so important for our communities in so many aspects. Having that housing security helped us as educators make impact on those students. And I don't think we emphasize enough how important making sure, especially for our youth, that they have that security of a home. So I wanted you to get an opportunity to mention this and really my chance to kind of make it personal in the fact that I know families that are taking advantage and I see the impact that it has. And it's a really positive thing that I wish would be highlighted more because it's what is truly having impact on our community members right now. So I just wanted to publicly thank you for your work today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Other questions or comments about item D as in David? Thank you, Director Ladd. And this is one of, I think, 4 items on the agenda that has to do with affordable housing. So it's an example of a whole slate of items that reflect efforts to speak to this critical community need. If there are no other questions or comments, Madam Clerk, can you call the roll on the motion?
Yes. Councilor Lindell.
Yes.
Councilor Rivera.
Yes.
Councilor Marworth.
Yes.
Councilwoman Villarreal.
Yes.
Councilor Cassett.
Yes.
Councilor Chavez.
Yes.
Councilor Lee Garcia.
Yes.
Councilor Michael Garcia.
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Yes.
Motion has been approved.
Thank you. Again, could you take us to the next item then, please, Madam Clerk?
Yes, it's item H. It's request for approval of a budget amendment resolution in the amount of $750,000 from the New Mexico Department of Finance and Administration to severance tax bond appropriation to the electric vehicles project. Number 20-E2735 to fund the purchase of electric vehicles and charging stations. And we have Neil Denton, our sustainability officer, for this item. Did I know it was pulled by Councilor Merrillworth?
Move to approve, and then I have.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve and a second. And Councilor Merrillworth, you did pull the item. You have the floor.
Yeah, Mayor, thank you. I did pull this, and thank you, Neil, for joining us tonight. I think this is very exciting. This is going to help us meet some of our sustainability goals. And like Councilor Chavez, want to give you, on the last item, would like to give you the opportunity to tell us more about this and how it does meet some of our goals and really what a big deal this is. And the work that you put in to get it here. So if you wouldn't mind giving us a little bit of background, that'd be great.
Mr. Denton, and it's worth noting that you do have the title of Sustainability Officer, so this is in your wheelhouse.
Yes, sir. Mayor Weber, Councilor Romero-Worth, thank you for the opportunity. You're correct. This is a big deal, very exciting. Back in 2017, City Council Resolution 2017-86 directed the city manager to convert our non-emergency administrative fleet vehicles to all electric or hybrid by 2025. We are going for all electric on that because of a lower carbon footprint, and also all electric vehicles offer a lower total cost of ownership, we don't see the same return on our investment with regular gas hybrid vehicles. That directive was reiterated in the Sustainable Santa Fe 25-year plan approved by the governing body in 2018. So to help with this goal, we requested funding from the New Mexico legislature in 2020 for electric vehicles and associated charging stations. And we actually requested 500,000 and they gave us 750,000. That's how keen the legislature was on helping us make this happen. That provides enough funding for us to purchase 17 electric vehicles and associated charging stations. Since we'll be installing those charging stations in some locations that are used by the public, like the rail yard garage, we are combining this project with a grant we received from the New Mexico Environment Department for public charging stations at our 3 public parking garages, Sandoval Convention Center and the rail yard. In total, there will be 4 charging stations with 2 ports serving 8 parking spaces in the rail yard garage and 1 charging station at each of the others serving 2 parking spaces. We expect these vehicles to be delivered by the end of the fiscal year. Once we place the order, most of them will be Nissan Leaf Pluses that offer a 226-mile range, which is one of the highest you can get for a non-luxury electric vehicle. And one is a Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in hybrid. The person driving that vehicle needed more cargo space, and that's our only option for an electric vehicle with more cargo space. So this is just one part. We have 87 non-emergency administrative vehicles to replace, and look forward to continuing to work with the fleet manager and the finance department to replace those vehicles once we drive the ones we have towards end of life. With that, I'll stand for questions.
And is this the first, I'm going to use that great word that Rich Brown taught me, tranche of vehicles to be purchased to meet our goal?
No, it is not. We actually have 4 Nissan Leafs in the fleet that we've had since 2018. And 3 plug-in hybrid sedans that are in the police department.
Okay, but certainly this is a significant bunch that we're going to be adding to the fleet.
Yes, this is very significant. A couple things to note is we're replacing most of the parking enforcement vehicles. So those are some vehicles that get very high visibility. I worked with Noel, the parking director, and we met some people in Salt Lake City where they're using electric vehicles for parking enforcement, and made sure they were going to work with the lights and all the considerations that are needed for parking. So we have a news release ready to go tomorrow, and once we receive the vehicles, we want to make some noise. Maybe if an elected official would like to drive one while we take some pictures, that would be great.
Yeah, I've been in those Nissan Leafs. They're nice cars. So very, very exciting. I'm also really thrilled that we're not just buying the vehicles, but we're helping build the network. Also really important as people make this transition, because certainly there's a name for that, right? There's people are scared they're not going to be able to fuel up.
Yes, range anxiety.
Range anxiety. There we go. So
Yeah.
This will go a long way, I think, in helping everybody doing their part to build the network that's needed to fuel
So
these.
the next item is something that they pulled.
Yes, indeed.
Mr. City Manager, sir, could you mute your mic, please? Thank you. Sorry.
I do want to note many of the charging stations are in secure lots where our vehicles are parked overnight. But the rail yard garage presented a unique opportunity because of the market station offices there. And it is worth noting separate projects are installing charging stations at our airport, our Southside Library, and the police admin building.
Great. Well, I think this is fantastic. I am familiar with Charging Point, which is, I believe, the company we're using for the charging stations, and also familiar with the Nissan Leaf, which I think is a great vehicle, and very excited that we're able to do this, and very thankful to the legislature for giving us the resources to make this purchase. So thank you, and thank you, Neil, for your work. Appreciate it. That's all I have, Mayor.
For the support, Counselor.
Thank you, Counselor. Other questions or comments about this item?
Mr. Mayor.
Counselor Rivera.
Thank you, Neil. I think it's page 9 of my packet, which is the statewide price agreement. It says amendment number 5, which expires on October 6, 2022. Does that cover all the subsequent price agreements that are in the packet? Because some of those expire in 2021 or expired in 2021.
So the cover page of that statewide price agreement we're using extends the original agreement. And they have continued to extend that year over year. So I feel confident we'll be able to make that purchase in the, as soon as we have the purchase order after this bar goes through.
And that's for all the vendors. It says 4 vendors on that initial page, but as you go down to, let's say, page 15 of our packet, which is a Santa Fe dealership, that expired in October 6th of 2021. And then the next one, which has 6 vendors, expired October 6th, 2021. So does that first agreement then cover, it only says 4 vendors, so I guess which 4 is it extending the contract for?
One moment, Counselor, I'm looking at that. On the cover page, I'm seeing that, the amendment extends it through October 6, 2022. Yeah, all parties except those. The quote we have from Malloy Nissan is in accordance with this statewide price agreement. There are a lot of vehicles on this price agreement, but there are only 2 electric vehicles, Chevrolet and Nissan, and Chevrolet actually stopped production of their vehicle. That's how we landed on Nissan, it being our only option.
So who sells Nissan? Is it Turner's or Malloy?
Malloy and Los Lunas.
Malloy in Los Lunas or Malloy and Los Lunas?
The Malloy Nissan dealership that's located in Los Lunas.
All right, so this price agreement that extends to 2022 includes those 2, and that's where we're going to make all the purchases. So the Santa Fe dealership isn't part of that. It's not included in the extension of the price agreement.
Yeah, the Santa Fe dealership is not on the price agreement. That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
And I do want to clarify, the other vehicle, the Mitsubishi, is being procured with a request for quotes because that type of vehicle is not on a cooperative purchasing agreement.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Counselor. Other questions or comments about this item? I don't see any other hands. Can the clerk please call the roll?
Yes, Counselor Rivera,
Yes.
Counselor Romero Worth,
Yes.
Councilwoman Villarreal,
Yes.
Counselor Cassett,
Yes.
Counselor Chavez,
Yes.
Counselor Lee Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Michael Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Lindell,
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Yes.
Motion has been approved.
Thank you. I've been informed that the conversations about the item B have done their job, and we can, if somebody wants to bring that back off the table, we can take it back up at this time.
Move to take it off the table. Is that the right motion?
I think so.
Second.
Second.
Can we call the roll on the untabling?
Yes. Counselor Romero Worth,
Yes.
Councilwoman Villarreal,
Yes.
Counselor Cassett,
Yes.
Counselor Chavez,
Yes.
Counselor Lee Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Michael Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Lindell,
Yes.
Counselor Rivera,
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Yes.
Item is back on the table, off the
Thank you.
table.
And so I think, Madam City Attorney, the last, well, I think you had the you had made the request to do a phone call or do a little background check. If you want to bring us up to speed, why don't you take the floor?
Thank you, Mayor Weber. And in response to Councilor Garcia's question earlier, it looks like if we could make a motion to adopt with 4A substituted with 5A instead, that was the intent for that paragraph. And in 5A, there is a description of the services.
So motion to amend item or section C1, where it states section 4A above and replace it with section 5A below.
Second.
I hear a second from Councilor Romero Worth. Is there a discussion of that motion? Madam Clerk, can you, there is discussion of that amendment. Councilwoman Villarreal, you have the floor.
I'm sorry, just for clarification, this is amendment to the motion?
This is an amendment to the motion so that it will correctly reflect the contract.
Okay, so any other question about the contract? We wait till after this motion.
I think that would be the city attorney's guidance, yes. Any other questions about the motion? Can we call the roll, please, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Councilwoman Villarreal,
Yes.
Councilor Cowsett,
Yes.
Councilor Chavez,
Yes.
Councilor Lee Garcia,
Yes.
Councilor Michael Garcia,
Yes.
Councilor Lindell,
Yes.
Councilor Rivera,
Yes.
Councilor Romero Worth,
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Yes,
Motion has been approved.
thank you. Councilor Michael Garcia, you were the initiator of this. I'm going to return you have the floor still, and then I suspect, based on what I heard from Councilwoman Villarreal, she may have a question as well, but I'll give you back the microphone, Councilor Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate that. I guess the only other question I had was reporting. How do we verify the services provided, put a value to that, and ensure that, let's use the example that Councilor Rivera gave earlier for transportation. What is the value that we're putting on transporting kids? What is the value we're putting on, providing staff support to summer programming, and how we work that out? Because I want to make sure that we're not overestimating or underestimating the services that the club provides to the community. Because as I mentioned before, the services they provide to our youth are critical, and I want to make sure that we're providing an accurate value to those services.
Mr. Leese or someone else?
Mayor Weber.
Start with you, Mr.
Councilor
Leese.
Garcia. I'm sorry.
We'll start with you. How would you identify the value of these services and keep good accounting?
Thank you, Mayor Weber, Councilor Garcia. The reporting, I believe Boys and Girls Club have certain reporting standards, and perhaps Sarah Gettler from the director of Boys and Girls Club, she can address that question in more detail.
Okay.
Ms. Gettler available?
Hi, Mayor Weber, Councilor Garcia. The way we do our reporting with our annual value service statement, we turn it in every year, is we start with putting together what CYFD counts as childcare services. They put a value on it. So for example, typically for after school program, CYFD pays us around $250 a month per child. We put that all together, and then we include children that we don't turn any children away. So any child that is not being paid for under that kind of contract, that's still the value service that we use. And then we put all our reporting to an auditor, and the auditor checks our data and makes sure it's correct. And then after it's audited, I send it to the city as our annual value service. Any contracts by city or other government that we have is also deducted in that.
Okay, great. Thank you for clarifying, Ms. Gettler. I really appreciate it. With that, I just want to thank you, Ms. Gettler, and the rest of the Boys and Girls Club staff for doing all that you do to support our young folks in our community. I think, one thing the pandemic has exposed is that there's critical supports that are needed to be provided as we are coming out of this pandemic. And I just want to thank you for stepping in, and I hope the teen center location at the mall is going well. With that, no other comments or questions, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Counselor. Anyone else wish to? Yes, Councilwoman Villarreal, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick question for legal. Anytime we reinstate, amend and reinstate a lease agreement, do we make sure that any properties that we have with the said organization, that their rent is up to date before we do any extensions or reinstatements?
Mayor Weber, Councilor Villarreal, I would defer to Terry about whether we're up to date on this particular lease. And that would be a good practice to do, I would think, for the city. But there's not a specific guideline on that point for the city. So, but on this specific lease, I defer to our asset manager, Mr. Lease.
Thank you. Mayor Weber, Councilwoman Villarreal. In this case, typically on the leases, we will get a new appraisal, fair market rent appraisal. On this lease, it was just recent. I think it was appraised in the 2015 lease. And so at that, we did not have a new appraisal done at that point with this one.
I wasn't referring to an appraisal. I was talking about when we have agreements for rent. Do we make sure that tenants are up to date before we do any changes to their lease agreements?
I apologize, I misunderstood the question. So in place right now, we don't have a lease management program that will flag whether or not tenants are up to date or not. That is something that I have for Gatsby 87, I've been doing a lot of work on, and I've contacted many lease management companies, lease management programs. I had my third demonstration today, and these programs will not only bring us up to date with Gatsby 87, it works with the Munis program, with finance, and we input when lease payments are due, and it will flag anything if a lease payment is not due or a value service statement is not received in a proper time, then it will flag myself to follow up and get those statements. So at present, no, there's not a way to follow up, but there will be in the near future.
Okay, I think that's important. That's just across the board, really. I think for any of our tenants and lease agreements. So I think that would be prudent for us to have something in place like that. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions on this item B on our agenda? I don't see any other hands. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Yes.
Motion as amended.
Yes. Councilor Lee Garcia,
Yes.
Councilor Michael Garcia,
Yes.
Councilor Lindell,
Yes.
Councilor Rivera.
Yes, and I'd like to make a statement after.
Okay. Councilor Romero,
Yes.
Councilwoman Villarreal,
Yes.
Councilor Cassett,
Yes.
Councilor Chavez,
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Yes.
Motion has been approved as amended.
Councilor Rivera, you wish to explain your vote?
Not explain, but just thank our previous city manager, Andrea Salazar from the attorney's office, Miss Sarah Gettler from Boys and Girls Club, Sam Burnett from the city, as well as many others that definitely Mr. Lease, who worked on this for well over a year to try to figure it out. It wasn't an easy, I thought it was going to be easy. We'd get it done in a couple months, and turned out to be much more difficult than we thought. But a lot of people put a lot of effort into this, and in the end, I think it's going to be a good thing. So thank you to all of them.
Thank you, Council. Madam Clerk, could you take us to our next item on the agenda, please?
Yes, the next item on the agenda is item N. This was pulled by Councilor Garcia and Councilwoman Villarreal. It is consideration of a resolution. It's sponsored by Mayor Weber, Councilor Cassett, and Councilor Chavez. It's a resolution adopting next steps for the reuse and redevelopment of the Midtown property, including applying for land use rezoning, general plan amendment, and a master plan, adopting a community development plan, issuing certain requests for proposals, conducting certain studies and assessments, and seeking the acquisition of land located within or adjacent to the Midtown site. And Rich Brown, our Community and Economic Development Director, is available for this item.
Thank you. Can I know we're going to have discussion, but can we first get a motion and then we'll open the floor for discussion? We had 2 council members asked to have this poll.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve. I think Councilor Mayor, did you make the motion, and Councilor Cassett, you seconded it? Very good. With that, both Councilor Garcia and Michael and Councilwoman Villarreal asked to take it off of the consent calendar. Do you have a preference as to who takes the floor first?
I'll defer to Councilwoman Villarreal.
Councilwoman Villarreal, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to reiterate that I support this resolution, and these amendments are based on some community feedback that we got from community members about the need to explicitly state that we support affordable housing on this property. And so essentially it's adding 3 whereases on page 2, line 17, that states, whereas the existing affordable housing market in Santa Fe does not meet the current demand, and whereas it's a priority of the city to expand and develop affordable housing opportunities for the residents of Santa Fe, and whereas through the community engagement process, community groups and members have identified that a priority use of the property is to provide affordable housing options. And I will stand for questions. I don't know if Councilor Garcia wanted to add anything to that.
Do you want to make a motion to move to have this amendment voted on?
Move to adopt the amendments proposed by Councilwoman Villarreal and myself.
Second.
There's a motion to insert the language that was proposed as an amendment, and it's been moved and seconded to add that to the resolution. Is there discussion of that amendment? Councilman Romero, or Councilor Romero Worth, I'm sorry, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wonder if it shouldn't say that one of the priority uses of the property is affordable housing. I think we have lots of priorities for this property, and it's a big property. We can do lots of things, and we will, and we are. And I just would hate to have that misunderstood.
Council, either of the councilors who proposed this amendment, do you want to comment on the question from Councilor Mayor Worth?
I'm happy to comment, Mr. Mayor.
You have the floor, Councilor.
Thank you. I think it's fine as is. Throughout all of the public engagement sessions, affordable housing is priority number 1. And I think it's critical to our community right now. And if we add one of the priorities, it minimizes that priority. And that's not the intention. The intention here is that we make it black and white, clear as day, that a priority for this campus is to provide affordable housing options for our community members.
Councilwoman Villarreal, your hand's up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just curious, Councilor Romero Worth, where did you want to say one priority? Was it the second or the third whereas?
It's the last one.
So say, whereas through the community engagement process, community groups and members have identified that one priority use
of the property. I just want to be clear that we have lots of priorities and for this property, certainly affordable housing generally, I think is, this is an excellent location for both housing generally and affordable housing. So I completely support affordable housing. I just want to be clear that we have lots of priorities for this property. And I don't know that we have a number one priority. I think we could argue that we have quite a few priorities.
So I guess maybe then to modify that, but still focus on the priority use would be identified that one of the priority uses of the property is to provide affordable housing options.
Yeah, something like that. I'm just bringing it up.
I'm okay with modifying it in that way. If we say have identified that one of the priority uses of the property is to provide affordable housing options.
Okay, let's take some more comment before, unless there's you want to get a vote on some specific language, maybe we could entertain some other hands that are up. And Councillor Merworth, if you wanted to do a little put pen to paper and bring it back so that it could be considered. Councillor Lindell, your hand is up.
Thank you, Mayor. I would want to know what the definition of affordable housing is in this amendment.
Thank you. Yep, I hear the question. Would either of the sponsors like to speak to what when you say affordable housing, I think we've had this conversation in the past. There's HUD affordable, there's affordable to people who are stressed but not qualified for HUD housing. Councilwoman Villarreal, what, for clarification purposes, affordable housing is what in this amendment?
I think it's how we use it all the time in the city, and it's pretty general. It includes a lot of different areas of affordability, whether it's workforce housing, HUD housing, supporting folks that are vicariously housed. So I don't think as staff has actually identified what they mean by affordable housing when we talk about it every single time. So I don't think we need to define it in this case. Because it's kind of all encompassing when we go to, are directed by staff and their priority to have affordable housing. So I don't think in this case it needs to have a definition.
I think it was more for clarification purposes and for the record of the discussion to identify whether we're talking very narrowly about HUD criteria, or, as you say, the way we talk about it in our meetings, which is there's a broad need for housing that is affordable for lots of different kinds of folks. Councilor Lindell, did that clarify it for you?
Fine.
Okay. Any other comments or questions about the amendment? Councilor Merworth, did you want to suggest? Oh, I'm sorry, Councilwoman Villarreal, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think just to make that slight modification that we just discussed earlier, I'm okay with making that adjustment. So would we then, this is always fun, amending the amendment. So can I just state that an amendment to that particular whereas?
Yes. Propose an amendment to that particular whereas. What would the language be?
I see Councillor Cassett shaking her finger.
She's trying to indicate there is a new stipulation. Things have to be written down.
That was me writing. Just so
That was why I was suggesting that Councillor Merworth might want to literally put pen to paper so that we would have there's a pen to paper. Well,
and who do I make this memo email to right now?
Our city attorney's hand is up.
Mayor Weber, councilors, if we could have people share screen, I think that was suggested when we were talking about the new procedural rules. And if you could just show us what it's going to be, and we'll have record of that. As recently as a couple weeks ago, we were looking back into records about a prior hearing when this type of discussion happened, and the resulting written document, it was not clear how it came from the oral discussion. So if we can see it somehow, either someone could send it to me and I can share my screen, or if you could share your own screen with a document showing whatever the changes, we can be very clear and make sure it ends up correctly in the final product.
It would be nice if we could cut and paste language from PrimeGov, which we never can do for any material in the packet material. So I'll have to rewrite it. So hold
Well, I
on.
think Councilor Maraworth has a handwritten.
Well,
Yeah, no?
yeah, can we adopt? Well, yeah,
No.
I wish I had a printer, I don't have a printer right here next to me, because I could scratch one word out and put in the other word and we could be good to go, but I don't. I don't know. How do you want to?
Councilor
Mr.
Cassidy.
Mayor.
Yeah, Councilor Garcia, you can help, and Councilor Cassett's hand is up as well.
I'm putting it on a Word document. It'll be in the city attorney's inbox in about 2 minutes.
Thank you. Councilor Cassett?
That's what I was gonna say. We can type it on a Word doc and share a screen or send it over. So
Okay, that'll
just
work.
for the wording.
So should we table this, go to the next item? We can come right back to this.
Oh, I have a
All right,
feeling.
I mean,
I don't think this is going to take very long, and I think it's useful to just deal with it in real time, and we'll practice this new procedure that we've implemented and see how it works. I do appreciate Councilwoman Villarreal's answer to Councilor Lindell's question about affordability. I think we have a lot of needs in the community for affordable housing, but we talk about it in different contexts using the same words. So for Councilwoman Villarreal to take the time to clarify the intent was really helpful. We had a debate, I remember earlier on in the Midtown discussions about whether all of the housing to be developed on the Midtown site would be literally HUD affordable, and whether that was a realistic economic development goal. And I remember both Alexandra Ladd and Daniel Hernandez saying, well, we need a blend, we need a mix, we need a spectrum here, and affordable. If we're only doing the HUD basis for affordability, we might not have a project that really makes economic as well as housing policy sense. So I really thought it was very, very kind and gracious of Councilwoman Villarreal to engage in that. So the record of our discussion has that in it for future reference. Any progress on the Word document traveling through the ethers to the city attorney's desk? Madam City Attorney, it was headed to you, I believe.
However, it's not in my inbox yet, but maybe it's in the cloud on its way.
All right. Well, I did my best to fill the time. I just ran out of material. Any other?
It just got sent, Mr. Mayor. So
okay.
Let's see how quick the internet is.
It's here.
I heard
It's
it.
here.
Did you hear? Did you hear that ding?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor, it is now scanning because we do have a scanning process for our attachments. So
Oh, that's right. We have to make sure it doesn't bear any poison. Hasn't been poisoned at all. You're going to wave at us when it's been scanned, right? And then what? You would take over this, you would do a screen share to show it to us on the screen?
I have it here. If I have screen sharing capacity, I will share. Yes, it looks like I do.
Great.
Okay.
Yes.
I defer to Councilor Garcia to describe what we got here.
Okay, so you can see in the third whereas we inserted the word one. on the second line where it says, identified that one priority use of the property is to provide affordable housing options.
Yes. Thank you, Counselor. Any?
Move to approve.
Second.
Very good. So this is, we are adding this amendment to the amendment. Can we vote on that, please? Madam Clerk?
Yes, we can. Adding the amendment to the amendment. I liked your language, Mayor. All right. Counselor Lee Garcia.
Yes.
Counselor Michael Garcia.
Yes.
Counselor Lindell.
Yes.
Counselor Rivera.
Yes.
Counselor Romero Worth.
Yes.
Councilwoman Villarreal.
Yes.
Counselor Cassett.
Yes.
Counselor Chavez.
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Yes.
The amendment to the amendment has been approved.
Okay, so now we have an amendment to the amendment. Is there further discussion of the amendment as amended? Can the clerk call the roll on the amendment as amended?
Yes. Counselor Chavez.
Yes.
Counselor Lee Garcia.
Yes.
Counselor Michael Garcia.
Yes.
Counselor Lindell.
Yes.
Counselor Rivera.
Yes.
Counselor Romero Worth.
Yes.
Councilwoman Villarreal.
Yes.
Counselor Cassett.
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Yes.
Motion has been approved.
Great. So now we have a amended proposal. Is there discussion of the resolution as amended? We have a motion to adopt it. Further discussion? Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Yes. Counselor Cassett.
Yes.
Counselor Chavez.
Yes.
Counselor Lee Garcia.
Yes.
Counselor Michael Garcia.
Yes.
Counselor Lindell.
No.
Counselor Rivera.
Yes.
Counselor Romero Worth.
Yes, sorry.
Okay. Councilwoman Villarreal.
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Yes.
Motion has been approved.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, I believe we have a glitch with item 10A because there was not a packet loaded up in a timely way. I don't know if city manager or city attorney, it has been advanced that we should postpone this to the next meeting because we didn't get the packet loaded in a timely fashion. We can certainly take it off till next meeting, given that there was not that packet available for the governing body to review prior to the meeting.
Mr. Mayor, I think that's fine with us. We're happy to postpone to the next meeting. I think we apologize for the error on not getting that packet uploaded as it should have been. And we apologize for the inconvenience to everybody involved. Mr. Gonzalez.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, I'd like to apologize. That was my fault. I was trying to rush this through. I would like to thank finance, legal, and city clerks for going out of their way to assist me with it, but this was my fault. So I apologize.
Well, I think we just want to make sure that the packet is available for review. And if we can put it off till next meeting, I'm sure people will want to read it and thoroughly understand it. So can I get a motion to postpone item 10A to our next meeting?
So moved.
Second.
I heard Councilor Cassett and Councilor Lindell on that with the motion in the second. Is there discussion? Madam Clerk, can you call the roll on the motion to postpone till our next meeting, please?
Yes, Counselor Michael Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Lindell,
Yes.
Counselor Rivera,
Yes.
Counselor Marwood,
Yes.
Councilwoman Villarreal,
Yes.
Counselor Cassett,
Yes.
Counselor Chavez,
Yes.
Counselor Lee Garcia,
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Yes,
Motion has been approved.
thank you. Can you take us to our next item, please?
Yes, our next item is matters from the city manager, AKA the birthday boy.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, for that both unnecessary and very kind thing. Hey, everybody. Happy February 23rd. A few quick things for you on my end tonight. First is I sent you all counselors an email last night regarding updates on our police chief search. We've completed the initial round of dialogue sessions. Director Ochoa and myself have been meeting with the dialogue session panels these last 2 days to get broad strokes, sort of what they felt about all the candidates as a whole. Next week, again, we anticipate that we will be announcing finalists and sharing both all of the results of the community survey and feedback that we have received from the dialogue session participants. Again, I put it in the email, we've said it before, anything you all can do to encourage your constituents, your friends, your colleagues, your neighbors to take part in the community survey, please do that. Anyone who's watching this at home right now, please fill out the community survey and let us know what you think about this search. We feel really positive about the direction this is going. We feel we've been very inclusive about how this moves forward, and we look forward to making a decision again, hopefully mid to late March at the very latest. We know we'd like to get someone in as soon as possible. Beyond that, we are now, as of today, stepping in, well, actually, frankly, as of last week, stepping in very aggressively into some new COVID planning around both how do we go forward from here around remote work with our staff, with how do we make plans for sort of, assuming we're getting to a point here that we will move possibly from a pandemic to viewing COVID-19 as endemic and something that we have to learn how to live with. As the science takes us in that direction, looking at what ordinances were passed at the beginning of the pandemic that need to be unrolled or unwound. How do we begin to look at whether or not and when governing body begins to meet in person again, the other committees begin to meet in person again. How do we communicate all these things both internally to city staff and to the public broadly? There is a long litany of things that we are looking at. We had a positive meeting this afternoon about sort of laying out all the things that we need to be looking at, both public policy and otherwise. So there'll be a lot of work done in the next few weeks and months around that. So stay tuned for that. I know that my predecessor, City Manager LaPan Hill, provided regular updates to you on contracts. I think she had signed. What we're going to begin doing is that Christine, our city clerk, will begin pulling a list for me once a month that I will send you all via email. And at the next governing body meeting, happy to take any questions then or any questions that you have via email as well. The first one she will send to me will be this coming Tuesday, March 1st. I'll send that on to you all on Tuesday. And again, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer any of those. And that will date back to the beginning of my term here in the beginning of January. Beyond that, the police chief search has been taking a good deal of time. I am in the process now of beginning to schedule interviews to fill the deputy city manager position. That will take some time over the next few weeks as well. And we have begun to hold with a few of your colleagues some planning meetings around the city-county annexation that is still in question right now for a portion of land within Santa Fe County. So those are the biggest things that we are working on right now in my wheelhouse anyway, and I'm happy to take any questions that you all have.
Thank you, sir. Matters from the city attorney.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. Couple announcements. We do have a baby Guillen in the world. Eliana Guillen was born yesterday on 2/22/22. So I'm sure we all send our well wishes to Jesse and Natalie. They are staying in Albuquerque at least through tomorrow, I believe. So they'll be back hopefully soon. And then I am losing a member of my team next week. On Friday, Mike Prince has his last day with the city attorney's office. So if you've worked with him, please also send him your thanks for his contributions to the city the last 3.5 years. He will be going to the CYFD General Counsel's office, where he will be using some of the same skills he's been using here with their IPR department and other things like that. So he's worked with our nuisance team, our IPR team, Public Works, and the city clerk's office with constituent services, and also living wage and a few other things with the city. So please join me in thanking him for his service to the city. And then my office is working with the Office of Affordable Housing and probably a bunch of community partners for a eviction legal fair on the 5th of March. So we're hoping to do an eviction prevention legal fair. It looks like we have co-sponsors with the First Judicial District Court. And then we're hoping to work with a bunch of our community partners to assist folks with getting funding from the Help New Mexico, the emergency funds from the state. And then we're also looking into what local funds are available. So please spread the word. We'll have the location confirmed within the next day, I believe. So we're looking at either Midtown or the Chavez Center. So those are the most likely locations. So we're looking for locations with easy parking and space for the fair to take place. So I'll be getting attorney volunteers, working with the state bar to provide those folks malpractice insurance for the limited representation. So we're very excited about this. It's coming together very quickly. So please help us spread the word once we get that official announcement out. Thank you. And then I also would recommend that we go into executive session to discuss a settlement agreement with the related to the opioid litigation. I'm pulling up the exact language here, which I scrolled away from. Maybe the city clerk has it right in front of her. I'm trying to pull it back up.
I do. I'm happy to read it on your behalf.
That would be wonderful. Thank you.
Okay. The executive session in accordance with the New Mexico Open Meetings Act, NMSA 1978, section 10-15-1. It's part H7. It's attorney-client privilege discussion of litigation, specifically the city of Santa Fe versus Purdue Pharmaca, DMN number 119-CV-01105.
I see the city manager's hand is up. Yes, sir. I think you're muted, however.
What happens when you get old? Mr. Mayor, city councilors, I was going to ask the city clerk, since this is the second time we've gone into executive session, I think this calendar year, if she would be kind enough to remind everyone how to get into the executive session, just as a quick reminder.
Yes, absolutely. If the governing body votes to go into executive session, you all have a separate Zoom link from me. I'm happy to shoot it to the top of your email. If you can't find it, you will leave this meeting and you will click on that link and enter a different meeting. We will leave this one open, obviously, for the public and streaming, and then you can return back to this meeting after executive session.
Thank you. Councilor Rivera, do we have a motion?
Sure, Mayor, I move that we enter an executive session pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, section 10-15-1H7 for discussion of threatened or pending litigation in which the governing body is or may become a participant.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Romero-Worth. We have a motion and a second to go into executive session. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Yes, Councilor Lindell,
Yes.
Councilor Rivera,
Yes.
Councilor Romero-Worth,
Yes.
Councilwoman Villarreal,
Yes.
Councilor Casa,
Yes.
Councilor Chavez,
Yes.
Councilor Lee Garcia,
Yes.
Councilor Michael Garcia,
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Yes.
Motion has been approved.
I will see everyone in the executive session. This would be a good time to grab a bite to eat. For everybody who's watching or listening, we are coming back from the executive session. Should be a few more minutes before we're able to get everybody back into this Zoom session, and then we'll resume with the action item that we took up in the executive session. Then we'll go directly, we'll amend the agenda so we can go directly to the petitions from the floor item, which we try to get on as close to 7 p.m. as possible. So bear with us. We're assembling out of the executive session. It'll be a few more minutes. Let's see, we need our city attorney. And once we have our city attorney, I think we can resume. There's our city attorney. Are you with us? One more minute. I cannot hear you at the moment.
Hi, Mayor, councilors. Could we maybe do the petitions from the floor first?
Absolutely.
Okay.
If I get a motion, well, first we have to come out of executive session. So let's, Councilor Rivera, can you bring us out of executive session? Yes, sir. Gesundheit.
You just ruined it, Mr. Mayor, but that's okay. Pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, Section 10-15-1J, I move that the governing body reconvene in open session and state for the record that the matters discussed in the closed session were limited to those specified in the motion for closure.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Yes, Mayor. All right, Councilor Rivera,
Yes.
Councilor Romero,
Yes.
Councilwoman Villarreal,
Yes.
Councilor Cassett,
Yes.
Councilor Chavez,
Yes.
Councilor Lee Garcia,
Yes.
Councilor Michael Garcia,
Yes.
Councilor Lindell,
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Yes.
Motion has been approved.
Now I would entertain a motion to amend our agenda and go to item 17, which is petitions from the floor.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second to amend our agenda to go to petitions from the floor, after which we'll come back to our regular order of business. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll on that? Yep. Councilwoman Villarreal.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to clarify. So petitions from the floor is not the same as the public hearing for the city budget public input?
Correct.
And if you could verify that, because we have other items in between.
Yep, I was going to wait to get there, but you're absolutely right. There are two opportunities for people to speak tonight. One is petitions from the floor that is unrelated to the public hearing, where we're asking for input on the fiscal year 2023 budget. So if you are waiting in the attendee room to speak to that item, to that hearing, don't speak now. Don't speak now on petitions from the floor. Wait for that hearing. If you have something other than the budget that you'd like to address the governing body on, petitions from the floor is the time to do that. And each speaker would have 2 minutes. But first we have to vote to amend the agenda. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll on on that motion, please?
Yes. Councilor Romero,
Yes.
Councilwoman Villarreal,
Yes.
Councilor Cassett,
Yes.
Councilor Chavez,
Yes.
Councilor Lee Garcia,
Yes.
Councilor Michael Garcia,
Yes.
Councilor Lindell,
Yes.
Councilor Rivera,
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Yes.
Motion has been approved.
So, Madam Clerk, we now go to people who are in the attendee room, not to speak on the budget, but to items unrelated to the budget that they'd like to call to the attention of the governing body. And if you'll keep a clock, we'll give everybody 2 minutes and ask them to raise their hands now, and you could admit them to speak for those 2 minutes.
Yes, so if there is anybody in the attendee room, please raise your hand. If you were on a phone, it's pound 9, I believe, or *9. Let me double check that. Don't see anyone on the phone though. Miss Stephanie Beninato.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
we can hear
Thank
you.
I just want to say that I see the city is offering some lifeguard classes. I hope that they will offer at least 2 others in the next coming months, so that there really will be hopefully enough lifeguards for all pools. I just have a question about this, what's called parklets or outdoor dining, which is going to be an issue apparently when the emergency provisions go away. And there's going to be permanent outdoor dining. And I'm wondering about the anti-donation clause, because I think the city was supposed to charge money, but then waived it because it was the pandemic. But again, I wonder how that's all going to play out. I wonder if you're really thinking about pedestrians who may in fact be many locals who are not going to be sitting at more and more restaurant tables. And then the other thing, you know, when I have a neighbor I didn't know was a short-term rental. And I needed to go talk to them about some lights coming into my house at night. And I found out it was a short-term rental. I called the city to find out who the contact was. And I was told that, oh, well, you know, to send me a notice was really just an invitation in the ordinance. But it is actually mandatory to have sent it to me. And now I'm supposed to ask through public records request rather than just getting told, being given the information about, you know, who's the contact person. Why? Because, oh my gosh, it's the owner. Well, I'm sorry, but they're the agent and they're supposed to be available 24/7. So why do I have to wait 3 days, 15 days to find out if I have to in the middle of the night to contact them? And so again, and I wonder too how either transparent or well enforced this ordinance is if the head of the short-term rental thinks that must mail a notice to all property owners within 200 feet of the property, how that's an invitation. And so I really think training has to be a whole lot better, and that enforcement of this ordinance has to be a whole lot better too. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else in the attendee room, not for this opportunity to speak when it's the budget hearing, but for simply petitions from the floor, which is the item we're on right now? I don't see any other hands, Madam Clerk, do you?
You are correct. There are no other hands.
Okay, that being the case, we'll close petitions from the floor and come back to our regular order and see if our city attorney is ready for us to take up the matter we discussed in executive session, although currently don't see our city attorney. Oh, there you are. However, you are currently muted.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I'm here. Should I share my screen with the specific recommended language?
I think that would be terrific.
So the motion would still be to approve as described on the agenda, but this would be the additional language. So it would be approval contingent on the city of Santa Fe receiving its distribution directly from the state of New Mexico and in an amount that is at least the relevant defendant's default subdivision fund allocation percentage.
That's very clear. Thank you. So I would entertain a motion to approve with this additional language in the motion, if anyone would like to.
So can I try this?
Please.
So I move that we approve the City of Santa Fe's participation in the New Mexico Master Settlement Agreement and Settlement Term Sheet as a participating subdivision to settle the city's legal disputes with Janssen and Normco, Inc., as raised in City of Santa Fe versus Purdue Pharma, in the case as it is numbered on our agenda, contingent on the City of Santa Fe receiving its distribution directly from the state of New Mexico and in an amount that is at least the relevant defendant's default subdivision fund allocation percentage.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
I heard a second from Councilor Rivera. Is there discussion? If there is no discussion of the motion, could we please, Madam Clerk, call the roll?
Yes, Councilwoman Villarreal.
Yes.
Councilor Casa.
Yes.
Councilor Chavez.
Yes.
Counselor Lee Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Michael Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Lindell,
Yes.
Counselor Rivera,
Yes.
Counselor Marworth,
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Yes,
Motion has been approved.
thank you. And thank you, City Attorney, for the extra drafting effort. Much obliged. And for leading us in the discussion in the other room. Madam Clerk, can you take us to the next item, which I believe is matters from the city clerk?
It's true, I am the next item. I have a few updates. And then I will also read in the upcoming public hearings. So one thing I do want to note, I want to give kudos to members of my staff. Geraldine, our assistant city clerk, as well as Xavier and Alexandra from our office have been absolute rock stars while we were closing out the 2021 year related to microfilming and archiving. It was realized that this hadn't been done in several years. This has been an unimaginable lift, and I couldn't be more proud of them. Over the last several weeks, about 5 weeks, the city clerk's office has basically been dedicating all spare time to preparing the 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And of course, as we were doing the wrap up for 2021, the bills, ordinances, and resolutions. So I just really want to thank staff for that. It's been an enormous lift. If anyone's been by my office, you've seen boxes and boxes and boxes of items. So I really just can't be more appreciative to my team for really taking this on and getting us kind of caught up from those previous years. So just want to give them some kudos for that. I also would like to note that we are onboarding a new member of our team. She'll be taking on the multimedia manager role, which we know was previously held by Joe. We all love Joe, but I think Ashley will do a phenomenal job. I'm sorry, her name's Ashley Espinos. I got excited to announce her and didn't say her name. And then I do just want to note, and again, thank Andrea Salazar, one of our attorneys, and Alexandra Ladd for their efforts. They've really been the driving force on a eviction tenant hotline. We're very close to finalizing that. And I think, as we've mentioned, and as our city attorney mentioned, the timing couldn't have really been better. So we're really glad that as the moratorium may be coming to an end, we'll have that in place. I also want to note that on the constituent services side, we're implementing a pilot program for a rapid response team. And hopefully by next meeting, I'll have some updates for that, but we'll be able to address some of the CRMs that come into our office in a more immediate kind of rapid response that hopefully won't disturb the workflow of our other departments. I think, as I noted at the last meeting, we've seen almost double the amount of CRMs that we've been previously receiving. So just kind of want to bring that to note. And then lastly, on behalf of our city manager, John Blair, I think he might have forgot to mention an event that we are having on March 7th. So I will toss it out there. We will be having a celebration, so a moment of silence and then a moment of celebration on the plaza on March 7th. We also will be extending that celebration citywide. So we've reached out to churches and local organizations, asking them to help celebrate with us and ring bells. The fire department will be running some sirens from their stations. And of course, we'll be asking residents to clap and celebrate. So the governing body can join us on the plaza on March 7th at noon, actually at 11:45. That would be great. So, and anyone listening, please mark your calendar. We'll be sending out some formal announcements via email and press release and social media in the coming days. But I think John might have just forgotten that, so I'll toss it in for him. And then I will note that we do have a public hearing on March 9th. It will be for the Vexus Fiber item. So it is an ordinance granting the NTS Communication LLC, the DBA Vexus Fiber franchise to operate a telecommunication network within the city of Santa Fe and use the city's public right-of-ways. So that's what I've got. And Mayor, with that, we move on to item 15, which is communications from the governing body.
Thank you. And we have apparently 24 folks in the attendee room waiting for the public hearing, so we'll try to get to that as rapidly as we possibly can. Let me just go around the Hollywood Squares board and ask each member of the governing body to have the floor. Councillor Chavez, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor, and I have nothing this evening.
That is concise. Councilwoman Villarreal, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to wish my sobrino feliz cumpleaños. My nephew Joaquin, or Joaquino as we call him, he is 14 today. And also a feliz cumpleaños to our city manager, John Blair. He is a 21st birthday again, times 2, and maybe a few years after that. And I also want to congratulate the Santa Fe High School Demonette girls basketball team on their semifinal district decisive win tonight against Los Lunas. The score was 54-18, and wish the Santa Fe Demon boys basketball team, who's playing right now, good luck for their district semifinal game. They're playing Albuquerque High School. The score is 32-23, Demons up at half. And if we hurry, we could watch the end of the game in person. So hurry up, y'all. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilwoman. And Councilor Garcia Michael.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to, I guess, encourage community members and my colleagues on the council to participate in a Regal Park cleanup that's taking place on March 6th. Folks are meeting at 1:30 near the picnic tables. This cleanup is being led by the Friends of Santa Fe Parks, the Santa Fe Little League, and the Cameroonians of New Mexico. So show up, wear some gloves. Let's help us clean up the park, get it ready for springtime. And I think this is an initiative that's going to be visiting all the parks throughout the Santa Fe area. So hope to see you there on March 6th. That's all I got, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. And Councilwoman Castle, you have the floor.
Sorry, I'm sorry, what was my name?
Castlet. K-A-S-T-L-E-T. Castlet.
That's a new one. I've gotten plenty, but that one's pretty good. I'll add it to the list. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, I had to call you out.
This is me turning red.
First of all, happy birthday to our city manager, John Blair. This is a really exciting way to spend your birthday. I know that these were the exact plans that you wanted, so very glad that we can provide you with this type of celebration. I did want to congratulate Jesse Guillen, as Attorney McSherry mentioned, on the birth of his baby girl yesterday. And then also Representative Linda Serrato gave birth to a baby boy early this morning. So congratulations to Linda as well. And then I also wanted to thank the Lafarge Library. As you all may have seen, Lafarge is reopened, and while it was closed, they did an incredible job of reorganizing and really just sprucing up Lafarge. This was my childhood library, so getting to go back was really incredible. I had the opportunity to do story hour with my co-counselor, Amanda Chavez, as well as Mayor Weber. So that was really fun. Thank you both for being there as well. It was great. And then I really wanted to thank, Aaron had mentioned the eviction legal fair that you're working on organizing, and really wanted to thank you all for your focus there. I know that this is something that we're all very concerned about with the eviction moratoriums lifting and what this means for our community. So thank you so much for putting your time and energy and helping to organize that and make sure there are resources out for our community. And that is all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cassett. And we go to Councilor Garcia, Lee.
Lee G, thank you. Just a quick shout out to all of the essential workers of the city, you know, with the streets department, the solid waste or environment, ESD, and I work with them quite often, and I see how hard they work. And so just everybody from all the departments, I won't list them all because I might forget one or two, but again, happy birthday, John. city manager, and congratulations to all the aforementioned new parents out there. So thanks again.
Thank you. Councilor Rivera, Chris.
Thank you, Mayor. Happy birthday to City Manager John Blair. Hope we get out early enough that you can celebrate a little bit. And then wish well to Jesse Ginn and his wife and the new baby. It's always great to have new babies into the family, and I'm sure they're very happy, very proud. So I spoke with this individual early today, and he said it was okay to mention what I'm about to mention. But although Brodsky, who's our head pro at the golf course, has decided to move on, and he's done such a great job for many years, and he's going to be really missed. I tried to talk him into staying, but clearly he had already made a decision and was moving on, but wanted to wish him well and give him thanks on behalf of the city. I also wanted to recognize Raul Martinez from Wastewater, who recently was awarded the Caroline Sanchez Achievement Award by the New Mexico Water and Wastewater Association. It's a big achievement for him. He's unfortunately or fortunately about to retire in the next couple of days. So it's a great achievement for him and for the city, and just wanted to congratulate him. And then also Patricia Rosacker from, I hope I said that name right, from Wastewater as well, who received the Outstanding Operator of the Year Award for Lab Analysts, also from the New Mexico Water and Wastewater Association. So very proud of both of them representing the city and wastewater and their accomplishments. Lastly, I'm introducing a resolution proclaiming severe extreme drought conditions exist in the city of Santa Fe and imposing fire restrictions from March 10th to April 10th, restricting the sale use of fireworks within the city of Santa Fe and prohibiting other fire hazard activities. Even though we've had some moisture, we're still well into the drought conditions, and when you see the reports, we're definitely in the red. So even though we receive moisture, we're still in bad shape. So continuing to introduce those resolutions. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Signe Lindell.
Thank you, Mayor Ellen Weber. I want to congratulate Natalie and Jesse. That's wonderful, a new baby. We're going to miss Alo. I've served on that Links de Santa Fe board for many, many years. And Alo's been there from the beginning. That's a big loss for us. Mr. Blair, we're glad you were born. We may make it so that you aren't glad you were born, but and the other thing I want to say is a huge continued thank you to the guys doing the dealing with the snow this year. They've just been unbelievably great. People running the plows, the parks people on the sidewalks. It's been the best ever, and it doesn't go unnoticed. So thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Romero-Worth, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Want to wish happy birthday to the city manager. Hopefully we will be finishing at a record early time so you can celebrate a bit. Congratulations to Jesse and his wife on their new baby. Very exciting. And I would like to sign on to Councilor Rivera's resolution about fireworks and agree that it is dry and we do have fire danger that warrants that measure. And Christine, if you could just add me to that resolution every month that it's introduced, I would appreciate it. And that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Great birthdays. Congratulations to new babies, old babies, moms who actually deliver the babies, and very exciting for all concerned. We have 2 state wrestling champs deserving of great recognition. Elijah and Roman both scored big in the wrestling championships, and that's great for Santa Fe. Very proud of them. I wanted to just read into the record. I think the legislative session wrapped up between our last meeting and this one. We got $1.17 million for median beautification and safety improvements, $1.1 million for Santa Fe Midtown infrastructure, $380,000 for Swan Park Phase 2, $100,000 for Harrison Road sidewalk and lighting improvements, $150,000 for Pacheco Street improvements, $300,000 for Tierra Contenta Trail System improvements, and $300,000 for Governor Miles Road bicycle and pedestrian improvements. So $3.4 million in support for Santa Fe from our delegation, the legislature, and the governor, and we're very grateful for that. That will help with investments that will make a big difference. I also want to give a big shout out to Melissa Mcdonald in Parks. As of earlier this week, she implemented a major corridor litter pickup project to get rid of litter on our streets and spruce things up. We're all getting ready, hoping for spring. I'll probably snow tonight, but getting litter and trash out of our major roads and out of the medians and picking it up right now before we get to spring is really outstanding work on her part. There's lots other things to talk about, but most of my colleagues have already covered it. I would say one last word about COVID, which is while the mask mandate is gone, COVID is not gone. So please remember to be careful. If you have an underlying condition, if you have a young person in your house who is not vaccinated, if you're not vaccinated, we're still not at a point where we can do a celebration of the end of COVID. We're dropping the mask mandate, but we are not dropping our guards. So please be careful, be cautious, be vigilant, continue to look after each other for safety and good health as we hope the COVID numbers continue to go in the right direction. That is it for me too. Thank you, everybody. Madam Clerk, could you take us to, I guess we jumped the gun a little bit, but item 16 is introduction of legislation.
Yes, Mayor, it is introduction of legislation. I didn't know, Councilor Rivera, do you want to read that one again, or do you want me, I can just go straight to 16B if you would like.
If you want to, Councilor Rivera, you can once again introduce it, and you, under our new procedures, you get the benefit of a couple of minutes to talk about it if you'd like.
Okay, I didn't realize, but introduction of a resolution proclaiming severe extreme drought conditions exist in the city of Santa Fe, imposing fire restrictions from March 10th to April 10th, restricting the sale or use of fireworks within the city of Santa Fe, and prohibiting other fire hazard activities. And again, like I said earlier, you see the models, and even though we've received some moisture, we're still in severe drought conditions. So that's the reason for this. You saw the winds today, so any small blaze that starts up could turn into something really big, especially as dry as we are. And it potentially may get worse if we don't get a lot more moisture. So due to state requirements, this resolution has to be done on a month-to-month basis, and that's why we're doing this. So you may see this resolution coming forward every couple of weeks, every couple of meetings that we have, and it'll continue to go on until fire department and others determine that we have the right conditions to lift the restrictions. So that's why I'm been sponsoring it for many, many years, and will do so anytime these conditions are met. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Counselor. And
And
then
thank you, Councilor Merriworth, for signing on as a co-sponsor.
Madam Clerk, 16B.
Oh, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, Councilwoman Villarreal sent me a message that she also wants a co-sponsor.
Great.
Thank you, Councilwoman Villarreal.
Madam Clerk, 16B.
Yes, Mayor, item 16B. And I don't know, Councilor Casa, did you want me to read this in for you, or would you like to read in your introduction?
I can go ahead and read that in. And then I did also want to sign on as a co-sponsor for Councilor Rivera. I guess we'll figure out when exactly we do that in this process, but so I am introducing an ordinance amending table 14-6.1-1 of the Land Development Code, the table of permitted uses, to permit small and large preschool and daycare facilities in all zoning districts except industrial districts. So I'll speak a little bit about what is behind this ordinance. As members of the governing body know, and if anybody's been watching, I've been really focusing a lot on how we expand access to affordable, high quality early childhood education and childcare for our community. Santa Fe is considered a childcare desert. A number of individuals have a hard time finding childcare, have a hard time finding childcare that they can afford, have a hard time finding childcare that meets their needs so that they can go to work. So there is a large effort. Of course, this has been a big discussion at the federal level. There's also a large effort at the state and locally to look at the various solutions for how we can expand access to early childhood education. And one of the needs that we have is expanding slots, expanding the number of spaces that we have available. This is part of work for how we can reduce barriers when child care centers, especially home-based centers, are looking to either establish care or expand care. Currently, most centers are permitted with 6 and fewer children, but if they would like to expand to more than that, they do need to get a special use permit, and that is time and that is money. And a lot of daycare centers have neither of those. And so how we can reduce those barriers is what we're looking at with this ordinance. What this ordinance does not do is it does not change any other requirements that would go into what you would need for opening up a daycare center. So it does not change, parking requirements. It does not change the requirements that the state would implement it when they are providing licenses. It does not change any of our fire code. So it simply just changes that permitted uses table and whether or not it is a by right or if it is a special use permit. We are suggesting removing childcare from the industrial zones because there's industrial things happening there and potentially not safe for children, but also balancing out some of the other needs in our community, one of them being cannabis. And we do not have a lot of industrial zones in our community. And we did have that requirement that any cannabis facilities be, I believe it's 300-foot radius away from a childcare zone. So really thinking about how we balance those different needs as well as the safety of our kids and what types of areas in our town they should be in. So this will be going, the schedule is, it'll go to governing body for public comment on March 9th, Planning Commission, March 17th, EDAC, April 13th, Quality of Life, April 20th. I don't know why I'm reading all this. Public Works Utilities, April 25th, and then finally to governing body for a public hearing on May 11th. And that is it. And then I have that Councilwoman Villarreal just mentioned that she has signed on as a co-sponsor earlier today. So thank you so much, Councilwoman. I appreciate that. And that is all.
Thank you. very, very good, thorough review of the process. So people can track it. And if they want to weigh in, there's an opportunity. That completes introduction of legislation. I believe we go now to the public hearing.
It does, Mayor, if I can, I just want to make sure that there were no other counselors that wanted to sign on to that legislation before we move forward. All right, thank you.
Make sure to fill out the form.
I was going to send that in a separate email, but thank you, Councilwoman Villarreal. All right, well, moving on then. We are going to item 19, it's public hearings. 19A is our fiscal year 2023 city budget public input item. Our finance director, Mary McCoy, will give a brief overview and then we'll move into public comment. Director McCoy.
Director McCoy, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll go ahead and share my screen for a brief overview. We're looking forward to hearing from approximately 30 people that are in our waiting room for public comment on this item today. So I'll be brief in the presentation. I first wanted to overview the structure of the City of Santa Fe's government. This has changed as recently as 2020, calendar year 2020, fiscal year 21. The major change that we made here was to combine different departments into where like services were provided. An example of that is community health and safety that combines our emergency management and safety divisions with police, fire, community services, and recreation. Two other areas that were also consolidated were the Community Development Department and the Community Engagement Department as well. I'd also like to take this opportunity to highlight our credit ratings and our financial performance. Fitch and S&P have affirmed the City of Santa Fe's AA+ and AA rating. They did characterize the city's strong budget management was demonstrated by efforts to maintain sustainability in anticipation of pandemic-induced revenue pressures via significant restructuring of our operations. So this is in large part to the work that the staff has done over the last 2 years to really be able to weather through the pandemic. We have also seen a net position increase, which speaks volumes to how the city's financials are also managed in the pre-pandemic year from 19 to 20. The city has also received unmodified opinions, which are clean opinions for the last 3 fiscal years as well. It's important to understand as we're moving forward to determine our FY23 budget priorities, how we have decided to spend our city money in FY22. The total all funds budget as of December 31st totaled $406 million. And that is split up in all of these categories, from major categories like debt service, principal and interest at 7%, to our insurance expenses at 9%, to the largest of all the categories of our personnel costs for salaries and benefits at 34%. If we look at how all of our 70 different funds are split up by department, this gives you a very good look to see that the Public Works and Public Utilities Department, when combined in total, represent 35% of all of our expenditures in those 2 infrastructure-based departments across all of our city operations. When we take a look at these same category and department expenses by general fund, which totaled $129 million at the end of the calendar year, we also see that salaries and benefits make up the largest share of our general fund expenses at 59%. As we look at how our general fund is broken out by department, we can see that a department like Public Works makes up about 28% of all of our general fund revenue and expenses, coming in at about $35.7 million. When we take a look at how our revenue is budgeted, here we can see that fees and services at 38% and taxes at 38% make up the lion's share of all of the revenue coming into the city. This being said, of taxes, our gross receipts tax revenue is the single largest source of revenue making up about 31% of the all funds revenue and about 70% of the revenue going into the general fund. Tonight we're here so we can hear from the public, hear from our employees, hear from our residents about how they would like us to budget these tax dollars and our fees and ours for service in the upcoming budget year. So we were talking a little bit earlier about priorities for childcare, priorities for health and safety in an area like fire suppression. So we'd like to hear from you with your concerns about those areas and your priorities for those areas, to anything from our sustainability goals, from how we can make our government more streamlined, to how we can invest our dollars to make the biggest impact after the pandemic. Just a reminder, and we'll be able to post this online later as well, that the budget hearings really do kick off in earnest in April, and we have a handful of budget hearings where we will review every single department in detail with the Finance Committee. At that point, the Finance Committee will make a recommendation to the full governing body, and we will have another public budget hearing and the vote on the budget on Wednesday, April 27th. So we look forward to hearing from you tonight, but also encourage you to continue to pay attention as this process develops throughout the month of April. With that, Mr. Mayor, we'll go ahead and stand for a public comment now.
Thank you, Director McCoy. And I think that slide presentation will probably be available, or if it isn't already available, on the city's website, so that anyone who wants to review the pie charts or other bar charts can see for themselves how the money, where the revenues come from and where the expenditures go to. With that as an overview, Madam Clerk, we've got a group of folks in the attendee room who would like to take advantage of this opportunity to speak to budget priorities. If you can admit them one at a time, and we'll give everybody who wishes to speak a 2-minute opportunity to address the governing body about budget priorities. If you will also, by the way, Madam Clerk, keep the clock for us so you know that folks are staying within and respecting the time limitations.
You got it, Mayor. Along those lines, I will have a timer going at 2 minutes. You'll hear the timer, and then I'll go ahead and mute, just so everybody's aware of how that process works. So if you are interested in speaking, please raise your hand and I'll call on you in the order in which the hands were populated. The first individual or group is AFSCME Local 3999. So,
greeting, counselors, and anyone in attendance. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Fantastic. My name is Louis DeMella. I'm with AFSCME Local 3999. I work at the public libraries where Mayor Weber and Cassett were there this last week. Did an excellent job reading. Happy birthday to Mr. Blair. Sorry, I have to spend it listening to us. I'm talking today in regards to the ARPA funds that the city has gotten. It's going to be $5 million over 3 years. There are different municipalities across the U.S. who have been using that money to give retention bonuses and increases in compensation to their city workers. As you all know, every service that we provide to the public is done on the backs of the workers of the city of Santa Fe. The last notable raise that we got was the 15 per hour minimum wage, which was helpful, but in a city where rents average for a 1-bedroom apartment at over $1,300, it is not the kind of dent that most of our members will need. We have high-skilled members. These are members who are not only being recruited in cities, they're also being recruited in the private sector, and it's averaging at a 10% bonus for get them out of the city and into the private sector. We want to keep these workers working for the city and providing services to the members of the public. In order for us to do that, we're requesting that this year the city give a 10% bonus to all its unionized workers, particularly AFSCME. This is ARPA funds. Again, this is federal money with a bailout specifically to keep these workers working for the government. Ms. McCoy is concerned about using temporary funds for something that will continue well past these ARPA funds, but I believe in not only her ability, but the ability of the counselors in the next 2 years to figure out how to maintain this pay rate. because whether we like it or not, the market has spoken, and 10% is going to be the minimum to keep these skilled workers providing services for the city. And that includes not only keeping people, but enticing new talent to the city of Santa Fe. One of our big issues is that it's difficult for us to recruit people here because unless they have contacts or personal places to stay, they can't afford to live here on the wages that are being offered. And with that, I would like to say, please keep in mind that the city workers, we're what makes Santa Fe what it is. And a 10% bonus for this year is something that the feds are insisting we get and that we can afford to give. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next individual, if it's actually just a number, it's 15053. So if you are calling from a number, perfect.
Good evening to you all. My name is Jonna and I am a city employee. I have a little bit I want to say kind of quickly. Notwithstanding the $2,000 retention incentive that was certainly appreciated by city employees, that financial assistance, the fact remains that union city employees who are not in a division or director position are not valued by city management. I'd like to say that this is evidenced by repeated and continual failure to bargain in good faith during union contract negotiations, failure to keep the terms of the expired contract in place. For example, the failure to provide longevity pay because there was no new contract due to the cities repeatedly putting off negotiations. Third, failure to acknowledge and rectify errors and considerable shortcomings created by compensation and classification reviews, salaries significantly less than market value, though we accept as public servants, to receive slightly less than the private sector. I encourage you to put the money where the collective city management's mouth is. Newsletters stating we are valued are meaningless when the actions refute the genuineness of that sentiment. Please use a portion of the American Rescue Plan money toward a fair and well-deserved wage increase for union employees providing essential services for Santa Fe citizens. Show the public you care about them and have an interest in keeping hardworking union employees working for them and that they are happy to do so. Deflation of employee morale and job satisfaction surely has not gone unnoticed by city management. Thank you for the time.
Thank you for that. And it looks like Aaron Ortiz with the Santa Fe Little League is up next. Mr. Ortiz?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Aaron Ortiz. I work for the city of Santa Fe. On my off time, I volunteer to help organize and provide a environment within our league for our players. We serve this year approximately 715 kids so far. Our registration hasn't closed. I'm anticipating about 800 kids, ages 3.5 to 16. What we do is we organize the league. We provide them with the equipment. We provide them with uniforms. We support our small businesses. The reason I'm here today is I want to present to you that, to plead to you that we need field upgrades. We've currently used Alto Park, Franklin Miles, Salvador Perez. This year we will be using Regal Park, and we'd like to see those fields renovated to provide a safe environment for our kids, safe playing surfaces, free of gopher holes and locked dugouts. This league is important to the city. It's important to our families. It's important to our kids. The last 2 days I've played catch with approximately 200 kids. By next week, I'll play catch with another 200. So it's important to us that this is made a priority. We've been in the city of Santa Fe since 1958. We've served every year since then. Last year was a big year for us. Mr. Ellen Weber, Mayor, you were aware of all our achievements last year. Daryl Carbajal, Jasleen Ramirez, taking it to the big stage in Seattle, Washington, and putting Santa Fe on the map. And that's what this league is all about. We want to continue to provide those kind of opportunities to our children. I don't live in the city of Santa Fe, but I live close by. And I spend all my time in the city of Santa Fe. And it is important that we prioritize our kids' health and safety on the baseball field and the softball field, and let our families know that we think it's important.
Thank you, Mr. Ortiz. That is time.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next individual is Christina Perea.
Good evening, Mayor Weber and city councilors. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Thank you so much for allowing me to speak this evening. It's nice to see friends, counselors, and some familiar faces. I am tonight speaking on behalf of Santa Fe Little League along with Erin. I am a parent of two wonderful daughters who have been playing softball for the last few years. And they just joined Santa Fe Little League last year. And I just have to say it's an amazing organization. And like Erin, I am, in support of any funding that you can have set aside to renovate our parks, in particular Regal Park. These parks have been a safe haven for a lot of our children, especially now with the pandemic. I know I escaped out of the house of being in the house locked up for days on end working. And these parks were kind of our, little getaways. By our youth being involved in baseball and softball, it helps shape them into leaders, not only within our communities, but also in school. It helps create a healthy lifestyle as well for our children. And that's huge, especially learning from the pandemic, how that's affected a lot of our children. And like Erin said, it's amazing that, we have over almost close to 800 kids who are participating in outside activities like softball and baseball. And that's pretty much all I wanted to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. All right. The next person is Jasmine Rodriguez Lopez. Oh, hold on one second. Jasmine, I'm gonna come back to you because I might have to do something different. It's saying that I can't give you permission to speak. So give me one moment and I'm gonna move on to Gustavo Gonzalez. Or there we go. Gustavo, are you there?
Yes, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Members of the City Council, Mr. Mayor, my name is Gustavo Gonzalez and I live on the south side of Santa Fe. I am a member leader of Santa Fe Mutual Aid project by EarthCare, and this past year I've been helping the Santa Fe community find assistance through our mutual aid network and referrals to other partner programs. We are also grateful that the city will be investing in aid efforts to the Santa Fe Connect network again this year with federal and state funds. We are a member of that group network and think that investment is very important. We believe navigation services are critical and that investments should be made in the capacity building and the leadership of members from impacted communities. Investments should be made in navigators from our community since our communities are the ones being served. Invest in the people-to-people connections necessary to make sure folks get the support they need, and please make it possible for navigators to be from the communities being served. Through the partnership with the city last year, 9 of us were supported to serve as navigators. We helped hundreds of families in Santa Fe. Our team didn't have anyone with a master's degree in social work. Many of us were intake members, were volunteers from the network who received aid ourselves and wanted to help others in the community access resources. We were proud to be supporting our fellow community members. Finally, as we approach the eviction moratorium end date, we believe this is a critical opportunity to invest to change the structural barriers our communities face around housing and security. We believe investments should be made in public housing, expansion. Our communities really need more affordable housing options. It seems like the city's investment in public housing would help really long term in the future. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay. I'm gonna see. Jasmine, if you, there we go. Oh, sorry, we're trying something different to get her. All right. Jasmine, you've been asked to unmute. Can you?
Good evening, members of the City Council and Mr. Mayor. My name is Yasmin Rodriguez, and I live in Santa Fe A&M. I'm a member leader of Earth Care, and this summer I participated in a youth leadership and paid internship program made possible through a partnership with PED, the county, the city, and the Santa Fe Community Foundation. Our El Puente membership leader program gave us the opportunity to help organize community engagement around equitable transportation. We engaged hundreds of our community members from the South Side in planning that the MPO and the Safe Routes to Parks were doing. We helped develop and conduct transportation and parks equity surveys. We conducted walking audits. We participated in data collection and analysis. Now we are working on the Safe Routes to Schools initiative, the Airport Road Main Street project, and other community outreach and engagement efforts, including the Midtown community engagement process. It has been powerful to have a voice in the plans being made for our community because it's ours. We will inherit the responsibility to take care of it, and we want to make sure that we see a future for ourselves here. Please consider investing resources in talent development and leadership capacity building in our own communities. Please consider investing in paid internships like the one we participated in last summer. We not only created employment opportunities, but we build resilience. We create prepared communities, strong communities. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, I have Jesus. I don't have a last name, so Jesus, I've asked you to unmute.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, good evening.
You can go ahead and start your 2 minutes.
My name is Jesus Rodriguez, and I actually been an employee with the city for almost 9 years now. I'm currently at the Lafarge branch library, and I just would like to make a comment that I really think that we could use that American Rescue Plan money for increased wage increase. Again, I'd just like to state I have been with the city for 9 years, or really close to 9 years, and I'm at $15 an hour, and it's a little bit tough on that, especially with the increase in cost of goods all across the board. And that's really all I got to say.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jonathan Juarez Alonso.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. My name is Jonathan Juarez Alonso, and I work at Earth Care, 6600 Valentine Way, 87507. And there I'm a leader for Youth United for Climate Crisis Action, or YUCCA, which is one of Earth Care's campaigns. We are a youth-led arm of the organization focused on climate and environmental justice, and I'm here tonight on behalf of our nearly 200 youth members in Santa Fe and throughout northern New Mexico. And so first of all, thank you for the opportunity to speak today and to give community input on the 2023 budget. In addition to the many great ideas articulated by fellow community members, I want to ask the city to invest in climate resilience within our budget. As we know, COVID-19 created very difficult conditions for our community, and our families were already faced with systemic barriers to health, economic stability, and access. We know that the climate crisis also threatens our communities in similar ways. We'd like to ask you to invest in grassroots networks and community hubs, which can rapidly communicate and deploy resources in times of crisis, and that also offer models for sustainability. There's a concept that we've been looking into called resiliency hubs. Connected to this, we think it's critical that we invest in expanding public transit services, shading our bus stops, and making our public transit system more usable and accessible to everyone in our city. In addition, we'd like the city to invest in community capacity, to partner in the implementation of legislation that we've all worked together to get passed through our legislature, things like community solar. We'd like to partner with the city on public and private community-based solar. We'd like to also partner with the city to implement the new seed energy efficiency block grants legislation that just recently passed within the past week. And we see these as just some of the opportunities for our communities to address climate and economic justice simultaneously while also building resiliency while facing these crises. Thank you so much for the time to talk this evening.
Thank you.
Sorry, his timer, good timing. All right, the next person is Elena Gonzalez. All right, I'm gonna promote Elena. And give me 1 second. All right.
Good evening, members of the City Council and Mr. Mayor. My name is Elena Gonzalez, and I live on the south side. I am a member leader of Earth Care also, and I am one of the leaders in our Southside Development Council, and we have actively involved in public engagement work around the Southside Teen Center. We are really excited that the project is moving forward, but we need many more investments in community spaces for recreation, health, learning, and community building in our Southside neighborhoods. The Teen Center is an exciting project that can accomplish a lot of things for young people like myself in our community. We did outreach with fellow teens to get input on how we'd like the Teen Center to be developed. We created a whole plan for the phase 2 of the center regarding the outside space. The development of the Zona del Sol campus with an amphitheater, mini soccer fields, and shaded spaces to study, gather, garden, and create. We have a powerful vision of the ways in which the Teen Center can nurture our growth and also be a space for intergenerational community building. We'd like to see budget allocations in support of our youth-led vision, which we'd be happy to present to this council at a future meeting. And we'd also like to have similar spaces for community north of Airport Road, as our communities that were annexed by the city still suffer from a lack of public investment. We'd like to see another community center so that each neighborhood has spaces for us to come together and learn from each other, participate in democratic processes, share resources, celebrations, and we'd also like to see more investment in community-driven development in general. You can support and help facilitate that by creating block grant funds, participatory budgeting, and investments in civic leadership internships. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next individual that we have up is Maddie Jimenez.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
So I have to apologize. I'm not in public speaking. I'm in finance. So I'm going to do my best for you guys. I really appreciate the chance to give a little bit of input. I'm on a few Facebook local parent groups, and this has come up a number of times. So I just wanted to present this for consideration. The primary concern is that there is a need for funding for public bathrooms in public parks. There's one of 3 issues there. There's either none available, they are locked, or their porta potties desperately in need of cleaning or maintenance. So I feel like that's a human need that is really important for supporting the young families in Santa Fe. The secondary, excuse me, the secondary consideration is for a splash pad in Santa Fe for young families. Everyone drives to Rio Rancho or Los Alamos, and this can be a for-profit operation that can bring revenue money back into the city of Santa Fe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Miriam? see. Miriam.
Yes, hello.
Hi.
Hola, miembros del Consejo Municipal y señor alcalde. Mi nombre es Miriam Luébano. Soy miembro y líder de AirCare. Trabajo para apoyar el desarrollo de liderazgo de nuestras familias en el lado sur a través de los programas Poder Familiar y Ayuda Mutua, o Mutual. Sé que tenemos varios miembros aquí para hablar esta noche sobre las necesidades de inversión pública que tiene nuestra comunidad. Por mi parte, me gustaría hablar sobre 3 áreas importantes: acceso lingüístico y justicia, inversión en liderazgo comunitario y capacidad de organización e inversión en navegadores comunitarios de nuestras comunidades. Para el acceso al idioma, es fundamental que la ciudad invierta en personas bilingües y biculturales y que la ciudad financie completamente los servicios de interpretación y traducción profesional. Hemos asistido a varias reuniones comunitarias en las que no se ha proporcionado interpretación o se han hecho arreglos en el último minuto, pidiéndole a los miembros o personas que hablen español y que nos puedan interpretar. Todos sabemos que la interpretación y la traducción son habilidades profesionales. Esperemos que la ciudad financie completamente el acceso a español. A continuación, me gustaría pedir que la ciudad reconozca cuanto más fuertes somos, especialmente en tiempos de crisis, cuando nuestra comunidad está organizada y los miembros de la comunidad tienen los recursos necesarios para participar en asuntos cívicos. Pedimos que la ciudad apoye el liderazgo cívico y trabaje de organizaciones comunitarias para que los miembros de nuestra comunidad puedan ser compensados por el papel que desempeñamos en educar a nuestra comunidad, involucrar a nuestra comunidad también y defender nuestras necesidades. Todos se beneficiarían cuando más directamente afectados se incluyen en la conversación y la toma de decisiones. Pero eso requiere desarrollo y capacidades e inversión. Por último, me gustaría hablar sobre todos los fondos estatales y federales que se destinan para ayudar a los miembros de nuestra comunidad que todavía están luchando contra esta crisis y tienen luchas continuas debido a la injusticia sistemática. Le pedimos que no solo use los fondos de la ciudad para ayudar y brindar alivio y ayuda, sino también inviertan en navegadores de nuestra comunidad y redes de recursos que se basen en la comunidad. Para resumir, asigne fondos para equidad y justicia lingüística, liderazgo y organización comunitaria, y ayuda directa en navegadores comunitarios de nuestra comunidad. Thank you so much. You have a good night.
Thank you.
Monique Mays is up next. Monique.
Good evening. Good evening, councilors, Mayor Weber, and city staff. My name is Monique Mays, and I work as a contracts administrator for the city of Santa Fe. I've worked for the city for almost 22 years now. I'm speaking to you tonight to ask you to use the American Rescue Plan money towards a wage increase of 10% for our AFSCME union city employees. Many employers across the state are greatly increasing wages to entice workers like myself to go work for them. A 10% wage increase will be a dignified incentive to keep union employees as continued public servants. Your union employees have demonstrated tremendous efforts in keeping this city and the services we offer possible. We have water, we have parks, we have waste pickup and transportation. As it stands, expenses have increased and will continue. Placing value in your union employees will have a significant and positive impact within the community and the future of the community. Help the public by paying the people who make public service possible, the unionized workers of the city of Santa Fe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Javier Vigil. No. Javier.
Good evening. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak this evening. Happy birthday, Mr. Blair. And with that being said, I'm with the Santa Fe Little League. I'm also a business owner, JV Squared Consulting, and more importantly, a philanthropist. As you know, there are lots of parks that need funding, but what Santa Fe literally brings is an organized community and a philanthropic story to the city-specific funding and prioritization of this park, and specifically the Phils. Being a part of Santa Fe, our youth is our heart. It's important that we invest in our youth. From a recreation standpoint, we're coming out of an endemic, but we are going to be in a crisis. From a mental health standpoint, we need to invest in our youth's mental health. It's super, super important. I'm a grant writer. I know that there is over $1 billion in grant funding that we can utilize to be able to help our youth. I'm ready to help in any way I can to ensure that our youth do not end up on the streets, homeless and addiction, as we've all experienced somebody in our families affected by that. And so I thank you all for what you do, and I hope we can all work together, and great to see the community involvement to, as we said in one of the beginning council members, as a team to make Santa Fe great. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Maxine Sandoval.
Yes, good evening, councilors, Mayor Weber. My name is Maxine. I'm a 20-plus year City of Santa Fe employee. I have sat through many administrations, some good, some bad. This one has been the most stressful and the most difficult to get through, not just because of COVID. And COVID, yes, being our hardest obstacle to get over. However, we did manage to do that. We managed to have departments become essential, and managers not wanting to pay the essentiality of what the essential worker really is. We have sat for many, many years at the table trying to bargain in good faith that we could all come together to actually be the best city in the country, like Mayor Weber, has a vision for. I would like to be part of that vision. However, morale is at its lowest. And Mayor Weber, and Mr. Blair, happy birthday. I'd like to say that if the union members were to get the financial support that we need as City of Santa Fe employees, that we as employees, we could make this the best city in the country. We could make it the friendliest. We could make it the savviest. We could be number one when it comes to people wanting to travel and visit. But morale is so low, expenses are really high. The rent, the housing market is extremely high. The City of Santa Fe employees that have been here for 15 plus years, now we're fighting for our longevity leave. I really don't even understand why we have to fight for that when we've dedicated our lives and our careers to this government entity to supply a demand to our constituents, because if it wasn't for us, we wouldn't even be where we're at right now. I'd like to add that for the City of Santa Fe employees, we are the ones who have brought ethic and integrity to this city. We get complimented on our work daily. I work with the poorest in the community, and I know what it is to not have money. There's so many people in need. We are part of that group. Please take that ARPA fund and spread it among the union workers. It's very important that if you keep morale up, we're going to have employees that are happy. We're going to have employees that want to stay. Let's invest in our employees. Yes, we're talking about investing. It's time for the City of Santa Fe administration to invest in their employees. And with that, I would like to thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Next up is Andrew.
My name is Ortiz. I'm part of the Santa Fe Little League board. I kind of just want to add to Aaron what he kind of like.
Andrew, sorry, I hate to interrupt you. We're getting a bunch of feedback. If you have YouTube or anything else on, will you?
Hold on.
Okay, how about now?
Oh,
Much
perfect.
better, thank you.
That's perfect, Andrew.
Hold on, I'm having a hard time hearing you guys now.
Oh.
Okay, now?
Great.
Okay, cool. Sorry about that. Okay, so like I said, my name is Andrew Carvajal. I'm part of the Santa Fe Little League board. I kind of just wanted to add on to what Aaron was saying about the Regal Park upgrades. I've been coaching for about 9-10 years, and since I've been coaching, that park has just been full of gopher holes, and it's been safety issues. My son Daryl has sprained his ankle out there 2 or 3 times. Once was before a big state tournament. I've had other players injure themselves. So like they were saying before, we just kind of need to invest in our youth, and especially from last year, we brought in a lot of success for Little League Baseball with, you know, the 12U boys bringing a district title home for the first time since 2003. And these guys, they work their butts off, and especially my son Daryl, and he's one of the ones too that would love to see the fields get upgraded over here, because he's invested a lot of time and playing and giving back to the community here in Santa Fe. And so I just think it's time to finally upgrade the fields and kind of invest in our youth more and try to get baseball, give Santa Fe a little bit more of a name in baseball. And with that, my son Daryl would like to speak too.
Yeah, like you were saying, like just upgrade the fields and stuff. Like all the gopher holes and stuff, or just like spraining ankles and stuff. It would be better not just to make the fields look better, but also make sure that kids are safe and like more safe from injury.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then just one more thing too, to add to that. I think if we do rebuild the fields, it'll open more opportunities for tournaments. We can have people from out of the city come to tournaments, which could generate revenue for the city of Santa Fe as well too. So, so yeah, thank you for hearing us, and thanks for everything you guys do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew and Daryl. Next up, we have Danny. Oh, sorry. I also need to turn off the alarm. Sorry about that. Danny?
Honorable Mayor, City Council, my name is Danny Carter. I'm a city employee. I enjoy working for the city here, but the cost of living in Santa Fe is quite high compared to other parts of the country. And as you all know, inflation has had a big impact on city employee salaries. And here lately, my salary in real terms is actually decreased when you take into account inflation. And if the city wants to retain its current employees, then it should keep this in mind when it discusses the wages of city employees. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tana? Tana Morrow?
Hi, thank you. Hi, Mr. Mayor, governing body. My name is Tana Morrow. I was born and raised in Santa Fe, and I've been fortunate to begin raising my family here. I am sad and also, frankly, pretty angry to see that many of my family and friends are being priced out of the city. So I would like to voice my support for investments in housing and updates to our land use code to respond to the affordability issues. Specifically, I'd like to support funding Tierra Contenta infrastructure and providing a permanent recurring funding source for the city's affordable housing trust fund. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
All right, Sonia Martinez.
Hello, Governor and councilors. I just wanted to speak as a mother and a community member, and also in support of Santa Fe Little League. I just wanted to bring to your attention as well that yes, those fields do need a lot of work. And as you know, our kids are our future. So if we can give them any kind of, positive reinforcement with this, with baseball, with these sports, that's really what's going to keep our youth busy, out of trouble. And I really hope that you all take into consideration with the budget in redoing these parks, specifically the fields. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, if there's anybody else that would like to speak, please raise your hand. It looks like Therese Martinez. Therese, do you want to unmute?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can now, thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, and happy birthday to John Blair. Tonight, my name is Therese Martinez. I have been a city employee for 14 years. For the last several years, pre-pandemic, pandemic, and hopefully nearing post-pandemic, the city union has been waiting for a new contract. During that, the 3-year contract is still under negotiations. That leaves no increase in employee salaries for the last 2 years. Yet inflation and cost of living have increased. While the $1,000 and $2,000 retention bonuses have been very appreciated, they are short-term. The fact that the American Rescue Plan Act allows for retention incentives. Tonight's request is for the city budget allocation of a minimum of 10% increase across the board for all union employees. That would take loads for all those employees that have hung in there and stayed through all the many adjustments and changes that have occurred for the last several years and intend to stay at their jobs and conscientiously continue to do them well. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Madam Clerk, we have a couple more. We have somebody called constituent.
Yes, we do have somebody called constituent. I'm going to ask you to unmute. There you go. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tammy Anderson. I'm a city employee and have been employed by the city for 13 years. I work in the City of Santa Fe Senior Division. And I just want to say that through the whole pandemic, we have continually worked constantly and took on other job descriptions besides what we were used to. We were also considered essential, and we worked not from the comfort of our own homes, but out in the field. And I am just asking that there be some consideration as far as the American Rescue Plan money, that it may be used towards our 10% increase. It would be greatly appreciated by all my coworkers as well as myself. And I have enjoyed working for the city, but morale is down, and we just need a little something to rain on us, or should I say something big to rain on us, to keep us in our jobs and our positions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, that looks like that was the last person to raise their have their hand raised. Sorry, also you heard. If there's anybody else in the attendee room that would like to speak, please raise your hand and I can call on you before we close this public hearing.
I see one more.
Yes, I do too. All right, Jerica.
Good evening, councilors, Mayor Weber, and city staff. My name is Jerica Bernal, and I work as a customer service rep for the city of Santa Fe. I have worked for the city for 5 years, and as it stands, expenses have increased greatly the past year, and employers across the state are greatly increasing wages to entice workers like myself to go work for them. Putting the American Rescue Plan money towards a 10% wage increase for ASFAMI union city workers will keep our workers in the city providing the essential services for Santa Fe both now and in the future. Help the public by paying the people who make public services possible, the unionized workers of the city of Santa Fe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bianca. Oh. I'm not sure. I had Bianca and I don't know.
There she is.
Can you all hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Bianca Saposi. I work with Earth Care. And I just wanted to follow up on some of our members' points about language access. I'm not sure if everyone could understand Miriam, because I'm not sure if everyone is bilingual on the council, but I wanted to point out that we know that we can alert the city if we have Spanish-speaking members who need interpretation services. But I want to point out that, for a monolingual Spanish speaker in our community who wants to participate in the democratic process, especially around a hearing like this, that's so important, right? In terms of how our resources are allocated, our public funds, which, our Spanish-speaking community certainly contribute to. They would need to know how to ask for interpretation services. That's not something that's made clear on the city website in Spanish anywhere for people, nor is it posted in the agenda in Spanish. And so again, there's all this expectation that Spanish speakers know how to navigate English resources in order to be able to have language equity and justice in a bilingual state where there's a legal obligation to make governance accessible to all of us. So I just wanted to point that out and stress again her point about the city's need to invest seriously for this budget year in interpretation services and language access and justice, and just make sure that that point was understood by everyone on the governing body. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other hands who have not spoken? Madam Clerk?
I don't see any other hands, Mayor, and I'm quickly trying to run through the list just to make sure there's not anybody that may have wanted to speak. If there is anyone that would like to speak, please raise your hand so I can request you. I'm not seeing any other hands go up, Mayor.
All right. In that case, that completes the public hearing. It's not the end of the participation in the budget conversation, but it's a first opening opportunity, and I appreciate everybody who took the time to attend and wait and speak and give us some guidance. Very much appreciated to everybody. We have no appointments tonight, and so thank you to everybody who attended. Thanks to the governing body and to Mr. Blair. Happy birthday again. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.